solidity and transparency, like a lantern flame struggling to stay lit in a storm. "Move quickly," she murmured. "The longer we stay, the more he'll unravel." Her words were soft but decisive. Tanjiro fell in beside her, matching his breathing to hers and the boy's, creating a steady rhythm meant to anchor the child's presence. As they descended the snowy path, every sound felt sharpened the crunch of ice under their feet. The distant caw of a crow, even the faint rustle of branches brushing against one another. The boy clung weakly to Shinobu, his eyes half open, but his voice slipped through in fragmented whispers. He saw the wrong future, the wrong death, the wrong you. Tanjiro leaned closer. "What do you mean?" The boy's form flickered again before stabilizing under Tanjiro's breath. "The path you changed. It showed him a version of himself he never imagined. A version where he wasn't invincible." Shinobu's expression tightened. If Muzan saw even a glimpse of that, his actions will be unpredictable. Ju led the way down the mountain trail, moving with a silent efficiency that belied the tension radiating from him. He spoke without turning. "We need to reach the butterfly mansion before nightfall. If Muzan finds us in the open, none of us will have the advantage." Urokodaki followed at the rear, ensuring no signs of pursuit were missed. The descent felt longer than usual, each step weighted by the fear that at any moment the forest might erupt with Muzan's arrival. Tanjiro's heart pounded, not from exertion, but from a growing pressure in the Aran almost magnetic pull, as though two opposing forces were drawing closer. Then the boy suddenly convulsed, his body becoming transparent for a full second before snapping back into flesh. Shinobu tightened her hold immediately. "Stay with me. Focus on the sound of our breath." But the boy's voice came out in a panicked gasp. "He's closer. He's using me. Like a beacon." Ju stopped abruptly. "Explain." The boy coughed, each breath distorting the air around him. "When he stole part of my memories, he took my connection to the fracture. Now he can sense the places where the threads weaken, and His voice broke into a trembling whisper. "I am the weakest point." Urokodaki's voice dropped into a deep, measured tone. "If Muzan is tracking the fracture, then moving the boy may also be guiding him." Shinobu's brows knit together. "Leaving him behind is not an option. If we do, he'll destabilize completely." Tanjiro placed a hand gently on the boy's back. "We're not abandoning him." His voice, steady and resolute, seemed to calm the child slightly, softening the distortions that rippled through the air. But just as they resumed moving, a low hum vibrated through the ground. The wind shifted. The nearby trees swayed despite the stillness of the air. Ju and Urokodaki immediately dropped into defensive stances, hands on their blades. Shinobu froze. Tanjiro felt the unmistakable pressure, suffocating and cold, seeping into the world like ink spreading through water. The boy's body went completely still, no longer flickering, his eyes widening with pure terror. "He's here." A shadow formed between the trees. Not Muzan's full presence, no. Something worse. A part of him. A manifestation created from the stolen fragment of memory. A distorted silhouette stepped forward, its form shifting and twitching, carrying the unmistakable aura of Muzan, but warped an echo of his malice shaped from the fracture itself. Shinobu whispered, "This isn't the real Muzan. This is a projection, a fragment given form." Urokodaki exhaled, blade lowering an inch. "Then we can fight it." But the child shook violently in Shinobu's arms, his voice breaking. "No. This version doesn't follow Muzan's laws. It follows the fractures." The shadow turned its head toward Tanjiro and smiled with Muzan's smile. The distorted silhouette stepped fully into the pale winter light, its edges rippling as though its body were constructed from torn pieces of darkness barely held together. It wasn't flesh, it wasn't mist, it was something in between, an unstable echo, a manifestation pulled from the fracture and shaped by Muzan's stolen memories. Yet its smile, that cruel, elegant smile, was unmistakably his. Tanjiro felt his chest tighten. The scent was wrong, faint, hollow, incomplete. But the malice behind it was unmistakably Muzan's. Shinobu shifted her stance, pushing the trembling boy slightly behind her, while keeping one hand firmly on his shoulder. If this thing is created from the fracture, its behavior won't follow any of Muzan's limitations, she murmured. Be careful. It might be capable of things the real one can't do yet. The shadow tilted its head, as if amused by her words. Yet it repeated with a distorted echo of Muzan's voice. How interesting. Even the insects recognize potential. Ju stepped forward, water-like calm, returning to his posture. You're not Muzan. You're nothing but a fragment. The shadow's face rippled, the smile widening. A fragment is all that is needed when the original has already been inspired. Its eyes, two shimmering voids, turned sharply toward Tanjiro. Because of you, Tanjiro felt the pressure of those impossible eyes, and for a moment he struggled to breathe. If Muzan gains anything from the fracture, it's my responsibility, he said, grounding himself with steady breaths. And I'll fix what I caused. The shadow chuckled softly, a warped sound like cracking bones underwater. Fix, Tanjiro Kamado. The moment you returned to this timeline, the threads of fate did not bend. They snapped, and when threads snap, new paths are born, new forms, new monsters. It spread its arms as its body twisted grotesquely. I am simply the first. Without warning, the shadow lunged. It didn't T-move like a demonate, slipped forward like a smear of darkness dragged across the air. Ju reacted first, blade flashing as he intercepted it, the clash sending a burst of frost swirling away. But instead of being cut, the shadow split apart into two streaks of black mist, reforming behind him. Urakodoki struck next, intercepting with perfect timing. But his blade passed through, as though it was slicing through a memory rather than a body. It's not tangible, Urakodoki growled. Not fully. The boy suddenly screamed, clutching his own chest, as though something inside him were being torn open. It's using me. His voice cracked. It's tethered to mine, the anchor. Shinobu tightened her grip on him. Tanjiro, focus your son breathing on stabilizing him. If he destabilizes further, the fragment will become unstoppable. Tanjiro dropped to his knees beside the boy, channeling controlled breaths, syncing his rhythm with the child's trembling pulse. Heat radiated gently from his hands as the aura around the boy flickered between collapse and form. Slowly, the distortions around his body calmed, but the shadow turned its attention to them instantly. How touching. You still think this child can be saved? Tanjiro met its gaze, full of fire. I know he can. Then you still don't understand. The fragment whispered, its voice suddenly soft and cold. He is not apart from me. He is the wound that created me, and wounds eventually bleed. The shadow raised one hand. The snow around them sank into darkness, as if swallowed by an unseen mouth. Ju moved to block its path, blade angled upward, while Urakodaki circled to cut off its retreat. Shinobu carefully shifted the boy, preparing her stance with lethal grace. Tanjiro rose, eyes burning with determination. I won't let you hurt him, or anyone. The shadow's smile sharpened. Then show me, Tanjiro Kamado, how much strength a man can borrow from a future he was never meant to remember. And with that, the fragment dissolved into a storm of drifting black shards each, one vibrating with Muzan's malice before launching straight toward them like a rain of living blades. The black shards tore through the air like a cyclone of living knives, each fragment bending unnaturally as if searching for the warm pulse of a living heart. Ju slashed through the first wave with precision, each strike scattering the shards into bursts of dark mist. But they reformed instantly, twisting back toward him with renewed hunger. Urakodaki moved in tandem, his footwork flawless as he redirected Tanjiro's breathing rhythm through his own technique, creating controlled bursts of pressure that slowed the swarm. Yet, even with two Hashira-level fighters repelling the onslaught, the storm continued to grow, each fragment multiplying, each movement more adaptive than the last. Shinobu carefully maneuvered the trembling boy away from the center of the chaos, her expression sharpening as she analyzed the behavior of the shards. "It's learning," she whispered. "Every time it reforms, its structure becomes more stable. It's evolving during the battle." The shadow's voice rippled from the fragments like whispers crawling across the snow. "Of course I am. Muzan's instincts are to adapt, to consume, to perfect, and I am his instinct." Accelerated. Tanjiro's eyes widened. "So if we keep fighting it normally, it will only grow stronger," Shinobu finished grimly. "We need a different approach." The boy clutched his chest again, gasping as faint dark cracks spread across his skin like spiderwebs. Tanjiro knelt beside him and gripped his shoulders firmly. "Stay with me. Your presence is holding it together. You're the key to stopping it." The boy's voice shook. I don't know how. It feels like it's pulling something out of me." Tanjiro closed his eyes and focused, inhaling deeply as his body ignited with the familiar warmth of sun breathing. He let his breaths flow into a steady rhythm, syncing with the boy's destabilizing heartbeat. "Then let me guide you. Match my breathing. Even if you can't control the fracture, you can stop it from overwhelming you." For a moment, the boy's breathing steadied. The cracks slowed. The fragments faltered midair, wavering as if losing clarity. Gyu seized the moment, launching forward with a torrent of sharp, fluid strikes that cleaved through the unstable fragments faster than they could reform. Urokodaki followed with impeccable timing, compressing the mist with controlled slashes, forcing the shattered pieces into a tighter cluster. Shinobu's eyes gleamed. "This is it. If we destabilize the fragment while Tanjiro stabilizes the boy, we create a pressure inversion. The fragment will collapse in on itself." But the moment hope sparked, the shadow's voice dropped to a chilling whisper. "Did you think I wouldn't evolve past that?" The sky darkened. The cluster of fragments twisted violently, merging, compressing, condensing into a single humanoid shape once again. But this time, its form was sharper, more defined. No longer a blur, but a half-solid body with shifting veins of black and red pulsing beneath its translucent skin. For the first time, it looked almost alive, and its smile was worse than before. "A fragment learns faster than a demon," it hissed, "and faster than humans can adapt." It stepped forward, each movement smooth and precise. Ju and Urokodaki tensed immediately. But instead of attacking them, the fragment vanished in a single flicker and reappeared directly behind Tanjiro. Too fast to follow, too fast to block. Tanjiro felt the cold breath of the fragment inches away, its voice whispering against his ear. "If the boy is the anchor, then cutting him loose ends the battle instantly." Shinobu spun with her blade ready, but she was a heartbeat too late. The fragment extended its hand toward the boy's neck. Tanjiro didn't think he moved. He wrapped the boy in his arms and rolled across the snow, breathing fire through his lungs as he unleashed a desperate burst of sun breathing to repel the attack. The explosion of heat and light forced the fragment back, its form warping under the radiance. But even as it staggered, it smiled wider. "Good, very good. The brighter your flame burns, the deeper the fracture becomes." Tanjiro stood his ground, placing the boy behind him as he exhaled steady streams of vapor into the icy air. His eyes blazed with the fire of 2 lifetimes. "This ends now. Before Muzan finds you, before you evolve again, before you hurt anyone else." The fragment's body trembled with anticipation, its form stabilizing once more into something dangerously close to demon perfection. "Then come Tanjiro Kamado. Show me whether the sun can outshine the void." The snow shuddered beneath them as both forces prepared to collide, one guided by memory and mercy, the other born from an impossible fracture in time. And as the world held its breath, Tanjiro stepped forward, ready to face the nightmare he had unintentionally created. The world narrowed into a single frozen moment as Tanjiro stepped forward, his breath glowing with the heat of the rising sun. The fragment mirrored him, its body tightening like a bowstring drawn to its limit. The translucent veins of red and black pulsing faster with every heartbeat it stole from the air. For an instant, neither moved. Then everything happened at once. The fragment lunged, dissolving into a streak of darkness aimed directly at Tanjiro's heart. Tanjiro countered with a blazing arc of sun-breathing, the flare illuminating the forest like dawn breaking through a storm. Their collision tore through the clearing, scattering snow into spiraling waves of steam and shadow. Ju and Urokodaki leaped back to avoid being caught in the shockwave, shielding the boy as Shinobu dragged him farther away, her sharp gaze locked on the clash. The fragment reformed behind Tanjiro in an instant, its arm slicing forward like a blade. Tanjiro spun with a breath that hummed like a heartbeat of the sun, his blade meeting the attack with a burst of searing heat that scorched the fragment's arm into vapor. But the shadow only smiled, its voice trembling with exhilaration. "This is why the fracture chose you." It lunged again faster, sharper, its body splitting into multiple overlapping silhouettes. Tanjiro matched every motion, his breaths sinking with an instinct honed over to lives. He moved not with desperation, but with purpose. Each step was a memory. Each strike was a promise. Still, the fragment adapted with frightening speed. Its movements shifted unpredictably, its form mutating mid-strike, each iteration growing closer to perfection. Shinobu realized it at once. It's pushing Tanjiro to his limit on purpose. Every exchange teaches it something new. Ju's grip tightened on his sword. Then we need to end this before it surpasses him completely. But Tanjiro already understood. He could feel it, a subtle vibration in the air, a pulsing rhythm connecting the fragment, the fracture, and the boy who anchored them. Each of the fragment's movements was linked to the instability in the boy's body. If the boy collapsed, the fragment would ascend beyond anything they could stop. If the boy stabilized, the fragment would weaken. Tanjiro inhaled sharply. Instead of striking forward, he dropped into a low stance, redirecting his breathing not at the fragment, but at the rhythm connecting them. Heat flowed outward in a controlled wave, not as an attack, but as a stabilizing force. The boy gasped as light rippled across his body, sealing the dark cracks creeping across his skin. The fragment froze mid-strike, its form glitching violently. "What are you doing?" Tanjiro didn't answer. He drew a deeper breath, letting the warmth flood him, syncing his heartbeat with the boy's. A radiant pulse expanded outward, touching the edges of the fragment's unstable form. For the first time, the shadow trembled not in power, but in fear. "Stop," it hissed, its voice distorting. "If he stabilizes, the wound that birthed me will close. I will cease." Tanjiro met its trembling gaze with unwavering resolve. "You weren't meant to suffer. You weren't meant to exist in pain. I'll end this without letting you become a monster, or letting you be used by Muzan." The fragment recoiled, its form unraveling at the edges as the stabilizing pulse grew stronger. "I don't want to disappear," it whispered, a hollow, trembling sound. Tanjiro stepped forward, his voice steady. "Then let me free you." With one final inhale, Tanjiro unleashed a burst of sun-breathing so pure and steady that it resonated like a bell through the clearing. The boy's body steadied completely, the cracks fading into nothing. And in that instant, the fragment's body split apart. Not violently, but softly like darkness dissolving at dawn. It reached out a hand that flickered like a candle in the wind. "Kamado, Tanjiro." Tanjiro lowered his blade, watching with a solemn expression as the shadow's final whisper scattered into the air. "Thank you for choosing mercy." The last shard of darkness evaporated, leaving only falling snow and the echo of the fragment's final words. Silence settled over the forest. The boy collapsed forward, a lip stable free. Shinobu caught him gently, checking his pulse with a relieved exhale. Ju and Urokodaki approached Tanjiro, who stood quietly with his blade lowered, staring at the spot where the fragment had vanished. "It's over," Ju said softly. "No," Tanjiro replied, sheathing his sword with slow, deliberate calm. This part is over, but Muzan felt that fracture. He'll know something changed, and he won't stop until he finds out what. Urokodaki nodded grimly. Then we must prepare. Tanjiro looked up at the falling snow, feeling both the weight and the hope of 2 lifetimes settle on his shoulders. We will, this time, we'll be ready. And with that, the fracture closed. The forest breathed again, and the path toward a rewritten future began.